this is Mark Farnham with Apologetics for the Church and another Every Believer Confident podcast. And with me today is Jeff Mindler, our Director of Research and Intern Development. And we are excited about a new effort because we're always looking for ways to equip Christians to effectively engage unbelievers and to build up confidence that they can share the gospel and defend the faith wherever they go, anyone they meet with. And so, Jeff, tell us about this new effort and the potential for bringing church members and representatives from churches in to train them on this new method.
Yeah, so this new effort that we recently begun doing and hopefully going to continue to do throughout the summer and into the fall as long as the weather allows us is a way to really engage the community, the local community with the gospel. Like you said, equipping believers to confidently engage unbelievers with the gospel and defend it. And it's called Whiteboard Evangelism. And it's so named because what we do here in Lancaster, but you could do this in other areas. That's the exciting part is we found that this would be so easy to train churches on how to do this, to engage their local communities as one way. There's not, one way. There's lots of different ways to engage your community. This is a really easy way. And as we saw, as I'll share later, a really fruitful way to engage. And so we found a local spot here in Lancaster City, very populated area, just downtown, tons of people on a given night will walk by. And what we did was we set up a whiteboard on a tripod and then had a question prompt on there. For this first one, we did, does God exist? And then we had spots, yes, no, and maybe. And we had markers. And so people, as they were passing by, they read the board, they would come up and they could make their opinion known, yes, no, maybe. And the great thing about it is it encourages that engagement with people as they walk by, they see the sign, they want to make their opinion known. And so they come up and make their opinion known. And then what we did and we observed was all it takes sometimes is just asking a follow-up question to then engage them on, hey, what makes you say that? Seems like you got a reason for saying that. Whatever they mark, whether it's yes, no, maybe, you can always engage them with that follow-up question. And then that leads directly into a gospel conversation. And so, when the effect of this, and I think why it was potentially so effective, is if you ask your average church, your average pastor, what's the hardest part about doing, on the street evangelism? I'd say most people would probably say, getting the conversation started.
That's right. Yeah, it is for me too.
Yeah. How do I walk up to a stranger? I want to do street evangelism in my local city, my local downtown area. The hardest part is walking up to a complete and total stranger and getting the conversation started, because you don't know if that person's going to be interested or hostile or what. You don't know.
And I've downtown Lancaster, because we have a lot of Christian groups in the area and that come to the area, I've witnessed other groups and how they start conversations. And the truth is, most of the time, it's really awkward at first.
Yeah.
And sometimes that leads to an effective conversation, but quite often it just leads to a quick one-off, and the unbeliever is like, I can't wait till this person goes away. But this was different. You had people that voluntarily came up and responded to the question and put a mark on the board. Tell us about the people you met.
Yeah, so there was quite a few, and this was the amazing thing is we were only downtown for about 2 hours. So not a huge chunk of time. We were busy talking with people for the entire 2 hours. And within 30 seconds of us getting the board set up and writing the question on there, within 30 seconds, we had people coming up and engaging and leading to conversations. One of the first gentlemen that we engaged with was a self-described, this was how he described it, he was a self-described esoteric occultist. And through the conversation, we also learned that he was some form or variety of a pantheist as well. And we had a great conversation. There was myself and some of our interns, and the conversation flowed between, sometimes it was, myself and Brandon and Charlie engaging this one guy, and then it morphed into just Brandon and Charlie, and then it was just Charlie, and because Brandon and I were talking with other folks throughout the night. And so it was a really natural flowing conversation where we were able to engage this gentleman with the gospel several times, asking him questions about his worldview and trying to maybe expose some of the inconsistencies so that the light of the gospel would shine into this guy's worldview, that he would see it. And so that was one gentleman that we talked with. There were a couple of agnostics and atheists that we were able to engage as well.
So what was the mix on the board as far as does God exist? Yes, no, maybe.
So the overwhelming response, which if you know Lancaster County, this probably won't be a surprise. The overwhelming response was yes. There were, I believe, off the top of my head, if memory serves me correct, there were about 14 or 15 yeses.
Okay.
Which, remember, we were only down here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we had 15 yeses, 1 no, and then 2 maybes.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing, and this is why this was, I think it's such an effective way, is even the people that mark yes, you might think like, oh, great, we're on the same team. We're both Christians.
They're Christians because they believe in God.
But the question, and this is the beauty of the question, is it's vague enough where even somebody that marks yes, well, their understanding or idea of God might not be the Christian God. Right. And so even
you have to find out what they think of God, what he, she, it, or they is like.
Yes. And so that was the beauty of, even if somebody comes up and marks yes, you can still have a great conversation with them, because again, you might find out like that the God that they believe in is the Mormon God, or the God of Islam, or Jehovah's Witnesses, or just, a pantheistic kind of God that, well, actually we're all gods and God's in every one of us. And, or just, some random pagan idea of a God. And so that's the beauty of that approach, is no matter how somebody responds, you can always ask that follow-up question. Hey, what makes you say that? Tell me more about, why you marked yes. And now you've got a conversation going. And so, yeah, it was great.
So Jeff, what did this outreach cost you? How much was the whiteboard?
Honestly, the whiteboard, tripod, and markers, $50.
$50. Now, we also had a cameraman there.
Yeah.
Taking pictures and recording video, which you don't have to do. If you're thinking of doing this for your church or a group of Christians that are especially apologetically, evangelistically minded, you don't have to have a camera. Although if you want to spread the news and really interest people in this, then having someone there recording, my guess is you could probably record it on an iPhone, although it helps if you have microphones on the people.
Yeah.
And when you interviewed the people, did you hold a microphone up to them?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a mic going.
Did anyone back away from that?
There were a few people that you could tell were a little reluctant.
Okay.
And so we didn't, we have the idea of like, okay, if they don't want to be on camera, if they don't want to be, that's fine. Cause we'd rather have the gospel conversation with them than, capture it on film. Cause that's not the main point.
So when they stop to talk, do you ask them right away, do you mind being filmed as we talk?
Yeah. Brandon was pretty good at asking those kind of questions.
Okay. And Brandon is so winsome. I can't imagine anyone saying no.
Yeah. He's very good at approaching people and engaging them and such. So yeah, it was $50, for the whole setup. And doing it as a team, I think was such a benefit too.
Yeah, we would recommend you doing this with a group of people.
Yes, absolutely.
Not just for safety and security, but for moral and encouragement, moral support.
Yeah.
And there were 4 of you there, or 3?
Yeah. So there was myself, Brandon, our senior intern, Charlie, who's one of our regional interns, and then Lauren, our social media expert.
Yeah.
And so one of the other benefits of doing this with people, like you said, getting confidence, because once the conversation starts and you see your brothers in Christ engaging, that has an effect on you where now you are emboldened and you have that confidence. And so you're working as a team. And so definitely do it as a team, because it is remarkable. You can feed off of one another. One person's strength, might be a weakness of mine. And so having that teamwork in action and the confidence that it instills of like, hey, look how easy this is. You can do this too.
Yeah.
And all it cost was $50 for a whiteboard and a stand.
That's great. So what are the future plans for this? And what are some other questions you might put on the board? I was thinking, I would like to, one time when we're down there, maybe put up a quote from Nietzsche, God is dead, and we have to become gods in his place. Do you agree, disagree?
Yeah.
But what might be some other questions you would put on the board?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I'm keeping a document in my phone of all of the different prompts and getting ideas from the interns of like, hey guys, what do you think would be great ideas? So I have probably about 20 different prompts.
Can you share some of them with us?
Yeah. So some of them, you could say, is the Bible true? And then Brandon had the good idea of kind of do the reverse of it, as in the negative, like, is the Bible mythology? And that way you're kind of getting people to think about the issue from two different sides. Is Jesus real? Is Jesus God? Is truth objective? Are all religions the same?
Wow, these are all great questions.
Yeah, and there's the possibilities are endless, as much as you can think of. Can you have a moral society without God? And so, you can just put that on the board, have yes, no. One I thought of too, which kind of builds off of C.S. Lewis's The Trilemma, if Jesus, is he liar, lunatic, or Lord? And the question could be, who is Jesus? And then each category you could have liar, lunatic, or Lord. And then people come up and mark. So you could do that as well.
Could add in a fourth category, legend, which I think a lot of people are leaning that way.
Or just other. And then if they mark other, that's a great conversation started. Okay, who do you think he is then? You marked other. So the key is, when somebody comes up and makes their opinion known, to ask that follow-up question, because that one simple question can open the door. And the other thing I wanted to highlight, the great benefit of doing this, not only to engage the people on the street, because we had about 18 or 19 people mark on the board, but we had another handful of folks who just in passing gave like a verbal or a thumbs up or whatever, making their opinion known that didn't on the board. And then you got to think of the other effect too, of all the people in that 2-hour span that walked by, that drove by and saw the sign and saw the question. And now the seed has been planted in their mind that the Lord could then use and take that. And we may never see that immediate fruit, but the Lord could absolutely take that. And so that's the other thing to consider when you're doing this in a public sphere like that, the seeds that could be planted just through having that question on there. So it was an amazing time that, I got all these questions for future ones that we want to do, whether that's, in Center City, Lancaster. You could do this at a college campus too.
Yeah.
That's one we're excited
to
eventually do.
One of my friends, Paul Adams, does this down at Ocean City, Maryland, and Ocean City, Jersey on the boardwalk. I've seen him there. I've been there when he's done it, and a crowd forms. He'll do a sketch pad where he poses like a puzzle and people will gather around. It leads into the gospel, but it's amazing. And this, I think, learning to do this with strangers helps you to gain confidence in that you can do it with people friends, neighbors, family members, coworkers. Because it reduces the fear of how will people respond. You get comfortable talking with unbelievers who are challenging you and disagreeing with you. And it helps you realize, whatever my fear is of sharing the gospel or engaging in this with an unbeliever, my fear is overblown to the reality. So if I can get used to doing this, then okay, it's not so scary. I'm not afraid then to bring it up and see where it goes with those closest to me.
Exactly. Yeah, the level, the confidence is transferable in that regard. If you can get that confidence by engaging these strangers, then that can transfer over into talking with your coworkers, talking with your neighbors, talking with your family members, your friends. Because once you've seen, oh, okay, here's how I can navigate a gospel conversation. I was able to do it with these 3 strangers just in this Whiteboard Evangelism outing. Okay, I can do this with my coworker too. And that's the beauty of it, is to get that confidence, and that can make such a difference.
That's good. Well, thank you, Jeff. I love this initiative. We are always looking for new ways to engage unbelievers ourselves as we're seeking to do that week by week, but also to think about how can we then pass this on to others, but then to train. And one of our goals is, if a church is willing to support the ministry of apologetics for the church, then, a couple times a year, we'll take a group from your church, do this with them downtown, give them feedback, give them confidence, train them on this. Because I think, and I've had this conviction for 20 years, what is missing in most Christians' lives and is missing in most churches is a confident, regular engagement with unbelievers on the gospel.
Yeah.
Because when you start doing that, and when a church is gripped by that, which I know of a few churches that are gripped by this, it transforms you as a person.
Yeah.
It's always making you think about, how can I get an answer for this person in my life? And as a church, it makes you realize we don't just have to have a big come and see event, a truck pull or a harvest fair. Those things are fine, and stand around and hope that somebody asks us, what must I do to be saved?
Yeah.
But if you can give every individual person in your church the confidence that in their circle of friends, family members, neighbors, classmates, coworkers, acquaintances, that they can start gospel conversations, people then come to church hungry for encouragement and hunger for the feeding of the word and sound doctrine, and it changes your life. You move away from focus on yourself and your little problems, and you think about, how can I reach people in my world and actually have, because I think most Christians have never had an effective gospel conversation.
Yeah.
I know I never did until I was in my late 30s.
Yeah.
Having been a Christian, this is the summer of my 50th year of becoming a Christian. When I was 9 years old, it was this month, I believe, 50 years ago.
Wow, praise God.
Never had a gospel conversation, no matter how often I tried, until I was in my late 30s. So 30 years went by as a Christian. Until I began to learn this stuff. And our goal for you, and our goal for especially the church in the Northeast United States where we're located, and beyond, because I know that people in Brazil and Uganda are reading our material and are being benefited by it around the world, is to encourage Christians and to fill them with confidence and to get them out there doing it, because that will change your life.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is one practical way. You mentioned, you don't need the big show, the spectacle, hoping people come, save the $5,000 of whatever it would cost. Invest in $50 for the whiteboard. That's right. And just go out into where's the public square in our area, whether that's a college campus, whether it's a center city downtown, and go there and see what the Lord will do. And if you're unsure how to get started, reach out to us. Yeah. We'd be happy to do some training. Come bring your youth group. We'll do it on the street and show you and give feedback and interaction, and then send you out, encourage you. Okay, here's how this is done. Here's what it looks like in this context. Now go and do it in your context. Reach out to us. Let us know. We'd be happy to train.
Thanks for watching.